Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Lydia with Raindrop, Lila, and today we are gonna continue working on this. I've decided to just maybe show you guys how to make each flower. So today we'll do the roses. I got a lot of different requests to share how I make my roses, so I am going to do that. Okay, so I'll mention this is the fabric that I used for the roses, right? And I also have this strip here. So if you wanted to save this for like a cover, you can always use this. And I'm going to use some scraps that I have left over. So what I do first is you want to think about the inner part of the rose, which I usually have like a tip. And so what I'm doing is I'm rolling this up into a type of like a triangle, and I'm going to sew it. So I'm trying to form the inner part of a rose, if that makes sense. And I don't mind the stitches showing a little bit. I think it adds a little bit of charm to it. I didn't watch any tutorials on how to make this. I just kind of crafted them on my own. I thought about what a rose looks like, and then I kind of tried to make that shape with the fabric. Okay, and now I'm going to go back down. I like all the little stitches. I think they add a lot to any project. Okay, now once I do that, I'm going to cut the bottom part off. Just the bottom, the fabric part, right? And so you have like a little kind of the idea is to have the inside part of the rose. I'm going to actually do some more stitching on the bottom here. Okay, now I'm going to grab this piece and I want to make it a little bit round, kind of round it off. Okay, and then this is one of the petals, so I want to just kind of wrap it around tightly. Let's see. Okay, now I'm gonna grab another one. So basically now I just want to make a bunch of petals. I'm gonna actually cut this, tie this up, and I'm gonna cut it off. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna cut a bunch of different petals, and I'm gonna fold the fabric so that I can just cut multiple pieces at once. Okay, and I actually want a few that are a little bit larger. So I'm gonna do this one. Okay, so we have a couple petals here. We're gonna start with this one. Again, we wanna wrap it around. And then I'm just gonna sew around it, sew it in place. And we kind of do that with each petal. The ones that are closer are gonna be tight, kind of tighter around the inside part because that's how a real rose kind of looks. And then as we get towards the outer part, those are gonna not be as tight, if that makes sense. Okay, you can also open it up a little bit like this and just add a little stitch right there. Now I'm going to do a couple stitches right here. I want to kind of ruffle it a little bit. So I'm going to put it into place and I kind of try to stitch it so that it gathers a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense. And then I have this one. It's not the easiest rose to figure out, but if you kind of try to keep in mind of how a real rose looks, and then try to stitch those petals in such a way that a real rose, the way a real rose would look. And so I'm trying to add like little gathers in the petal. You can do them separately and then add them on the rose. I've done them that way before also. Okay, there we go. So you want a little bit of a gather. That's what's going to create that pretty petal on the rose, right? Okay, again, I'm trying to make those stitches so that it creates a gather for the petal. So it kind of curves, right? Okay, and then I'm thinking I want another petal at the front. So I'm going to cut another one out. Let's see if this is big enough. Okay, I'm going to actually stitch from here to the front so that I can add that petal in the front now. I find that it's really hard to describe because every rose that I make is usually a little bit different, and what I explained is basically what I go for, but I have to really, it really depends on the fabric that I'm using and how well it works with the rose. things will change up based on like the stiffness of the fabric, and then depends how many, that will also depend how many petals I will need for the rose, if that makes sense. And so I keep adding petals till I feel like it looks right. I hope that makes sense. And so then what I do is I like to make it fit on here somehow. But see, now I think that if you're looking at it straight on like this, I think it's fine. But if you put it flat, I think we're going to need some more petals in the back to kind of layer a little bit higher so you can see them better. Okay, let's see. I'm going to tie this off just to kind of have it a little bit secure. And then I'm going to continue. So I have another petal here. Let's see, where do I want it? I'm going to stitch some of the bottom pieces down a little bit tighter. Okay, and then let's see. See, I think that'll be pretty right there. So there's one rose right there, and I can stitch it straight on here. But then I'm thinking I want to use, okay, I think I'm going to have to get some scraps for this one. Let's see, what can I use? I can use this to make the, or should I use this? Or should I use the velvet? Is that too dark? I like this right here. Let me show you guys. I like this for the, I can actually take some from here to use, but let's see. I can do this, I can layer it, and this can be my leaf. I think that'll be pretty. I'm trying to do something a little bit different than this so that I can keep using this in case you guys want to use it like that. Technically, I could cut the bottom off and make a pocket with something else, you know? Like I can make a pocket. There's something else that I had. See, this is why it's important for me to have everything out. I have this piece, but I have this piece right here. It got buried. So this could be a pocket. See that? On the inside of my cover. I can do that. I don't know. I think I'll just go with what I had. Okay, so I found this embroidery thread, which is what I'm going to use for the leaves. And let's see, I don't know if you guys, I'm looking for the color, but I'm not quite sure. But if you can see how well these look together, the green and the gold. Okay, so I'm going to use I'm going to cut this off and I'm going to tie it up. But I'm going to make the leaves next. And I basically make them separate like this, and then I stitch them on here. Okay. I'm going to make the leaves. Let's see. When I stitch the rows, I only use 2 strands, but for the leaves, I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use all of it. Okay. Because I want a thicker line when I'm sewing, and I want it to stand out more because all the colors that I have here are so similar. I want a little bit of contrast, and so this will be nice and subtle. I'm going to just start here, and I'll cut it afterwards. So just use what you have. It doesn't have to be green, right? I think this will still be really pretty. I actually trimmed a little bit too much, or I don't know how that happened, but I'm gonna just round it up a little bit so that you can see the edge right there. Okay, so I'm gonna go back now. Oops. Oh, I like that. I think it's really pretty. Isn't that pretty? And it's so delicate. I think that is great. I think that is good right there. So I basically wanted to use the same color as the rose, but I didn't want it to blend in too much, because if it was the same color, it just feels like, I don't know, like too much. So by adding that chiffon on top, it softens it and it makes it look really pretty, I think. It's like, it's delicate, and I love the way it looks. Okay, and we're gonna, okay, I'm gonna do another one. And I can just cut it now, I suppose. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes I'm really random and I'll do it one way and then I'll change it up and I'll do it a different way next time. I don't know why I do that, but maybe it just keeps things interesting for me. Oh my gosh. I got threads all over. Okay. And then I'm going. Okay, and I'm going to tie the back off. You can technically stitch it right on, but I don't want to yet because I like to kind of position them and figure out where they're gonna go. So I have this one, and then I have these tiny little ones. Now I'm wondering, should I do these or should I do these, like the vine? Maybe I'll save the vine for another place, and I'll do these. Okay, so I'm gonna grab 2 strands. Because I'm just sewing the rows, I'm not actually adding that much detail to it. I'm not filling in or any of that. So I'm just gonna use 2. And I only tie one end. Okay, so now the little rosebuds. Let's see what we're gonna do. Basically, what I'm doing, I'm just doing a couple folds. See that? That's how I start with it, and I'm going to sew this right here. I'm folding this over. I'm just kind of looking at it and trying to visually think what would look better. So then I'm folding this over, and I think I might add another little piece over this part. We'll see. Actually, that looks pretty cute. I like it. I think it looks like a rosebud, right? So that's all I do, is I try to fold the fabric so that it looks like a rosebud. I think this is really cute. I think this will work. I'm going to stitch it straight on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to sew the green stem coming from the rose. So that'll help finish it off, right? I'm going to secure it like that. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, then I'm going to tie it off on the back. Let's see. Okay, now I have another rose I want to make, or another rosebud. And so here's this. Or I could use this one instead. So again, I'm folding that into a sort of a triangle. I'm going to add some stitches first, okay? That'll help hold it closed. I think it's so amazing how you can manipulate the fabric and create different shapes. I don't know that much about sewing, but it was fun to experiment and try some new things out. My grandma used to sew a lot, and I think that I get it from her. Okay, I'm going to cut some of the bottom off because we don't need that much bulk. Okay, let's see. Maybe this one will be a little bit more, I'll add another petal, so it's going to be a little bit fuller than this little one, right? Okay, now I'm going to grab a petal and wrap it around. So I'm going to make, maybe I'll make a few petals. And I'm going to make them maybe a little smaller. This will be a smaller rose, like that's not completely, I don't want it to compete with the larger one. So I want it to be smaller. Okay, then I'm gonna stitch across this petal so that I can gather it a little bit. I think that this part is too big, so I'm gonna try to fix it after I get this petal in place. So this is why I kind of hesitated to share my process, because I feel like it's really a trial and error type of thing. I just kind of craft and sew, and then I adjust where I feel is needed. It's not like a formula, if that makes sense. I might add another petal in there. Let's see, I feel like this point is a little bit too big, so I want to Okay, now I need another petal. I'm going to fray the edges a little bit on this one. And then I want to kind of gather those petals up a little bit more with like the stitching. I'm thinking maybe I want to add something. Should I add something to this one? I don't know. Maybe I'll just add this one on here. So they're pretty, oops, okay, so they're pretty scrappy little roses. They're not going to be like perfect store-bought roses, but I think that they have a charm to them. They definitely take a long time to make. So I'm just trying to attach it. And I want to add the petals too now. Like right there. Maybe I should go like this. I think that's good. Okay, this is getting short, so I'm going to tie it off. And I'll have to grab another one to sew the rest of them on here. Once I sew them on here, I'm gonna add some of the greenery to the stem and the leaves on the other roses. Okay. I'm gonna do this one next. Okay, I want to tack some of these rose petals down also, so they're kind of kept in place. That makes sense. I think you can see it too much on that one. I'm going to take that one out. I don't like the way it looks right here. Here's what I have so far. I sewed the rows down and I sewed these down, and now what I want to do is add the stems like I did on here. See that? Okay, so I'm gonna start here. Hold up. Okay, so what I want to do is, a rose usually has this part that attaches to the stem. At least the rosebud has let's see. I think I'm gonna go like this. Oops, they got caught somehow. Okay, there we go. I got a lot of bits and pieces that it keeps pulling on. Okay. It's got a lot of layers I'm pulling it through also. So, okay, now I'm going to add the stem. Oh, come on. Okay. I know it's kind of hard to see. It's actually hard for me to see even. Okay. Okay, let's see how that looks. I think that's good. So that's kind of the idea. Okay, so that's that. I am thinking now how, what I'm gonna do next is I want to add this to the spine, I think. And then this part, I'm not sure how I'm going to use this yet. Maybe just like that. But you know what I think? And then I want to cut these pieces off so they kind of go off like that. But I was also going to use some of this underneath, right? But here's the deal. So this is what I want to use, right? So maybe I'll have these sewing. I'll sew these on here so they overlap. I'll cut one piece off to show you guys. So this is kind of maybe like this. Have these pieces coming out off like that. So this is my what I would do next for the cover, something like this, right? But here's the deal. The spine, for the spine to look right, I need to have the inside of the journal kind of already in there so I can see how big the spine is, right? So what I'm going to do is set this aside, and I'm going to pick my pages and work on the inside part of it next so I can kind of figure out how thick the spine will be so that I can match the cover, this gold, this pretty gold velvet to the spine. I want it to be as big as the spine and maybe overlap just a little bit. But I don't want it to take too much space on the cover because I think that will be, if I want it to be visually pleasing, I need to know how thick the spine will be or how thick this journal will be. So I think that is going to be the next step, is choosing the papers that go in here. And you know what I think I'm going to do? I think that'll be my next video. Okay. And I think that since I'm going to choose the pages for that journal, I think I'm going to choose the pages for this journal too, because it'll be somewhat similar. This will be a little bit more of a grungier journal. But I'm going to use some of these. I'll probably use them in both. And then I'll also choose papers for both of my, my journals. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this little craft with me, and I hope to see you guys next time. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.